Command Point is sponsored by Crossfire Games. Use code CommandPoint25 at checkout to get 5% off your next purchase. Link in the description. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Command Point. My name's Ryan, and today I'm here with Shane. Shane, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. How about you?
Good. Today we are, gosh, what episode is this? Hang on, I'm checking.
70.
Yes, this
70.
is episode 70. I did miss episode 69, which I'm pretty upset about. I'm not gonna lie. But that was still a good episode, so can't complain too much about that. Shane, we just got back from the CTC this past weekend, where you actually wound up winning with Hierotek Circle. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. The CTC up in Ontario, for those of you unaware, it's the Canadian Tabletop Championships. This was their first year doing Kill Team, so only a one-day event, 4 rounds, but they had a few golden tickets on the line, which was very exciting.
Yeah.
Um, and I think they had 32 players, so same amount that we saw in Dallas also this weekend. Um, just the 4 rounds on Saturday though, and yeah, I took Hierotek, and they're pretty good. Turns out.
I guess so. Even after like getting nerfed a little bit. Um, yeah, no. So yeah, they're back. No matter what they do, the Hierotech Circle, they just keep coming back. It's that living metal, man.
Yeah, they've reanimated.
Yes.
They were kind of dead in terms of. I mean, it was a while ago. It was like 4 months ago. Was the data slate that nerfed them. Um, and they kind of just like took the chrono or the psychomancer and like put him in the corner so you
Yeah.
can't play him anymore. The technomancer randomly got nerfed, and I believe at the time I said, it's kind of just chronomancer now.
Mm-hmm.
My takeaway was like, I think chronomancer is like probably okay, but that's the only way to run the team. And yeah, I mean, I've been playing them over the past month, and as seen in the tier list, I've obviously gotten quite a bit higher on chronomancer higher tech, and I think it's like S tier for sure. Um, and yeah, I mean, they're so good. Ever since we did the tier list, everybody's playing them now. They
Yeah.
they were they ended up in the finals, the first or second place in like four or maybe even five or six different GTs this past weekend, which was just crazy
That
to
that
hear.
is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, like all of a sudden, everybody just a
Mm-hmm.
lot of good players picked them up, and they're winning. And yeah, I mean, it makes sense. The team is just like, if you get a good player to play them, they're very, very dangerous. um, and I love playing them. Obviously, I'm probably gonna put them down for a little while just because I'm a little burnt, but we're gonna be seeing them, I think, pretty frequently until the next data slate, I would guess.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm happy to see that. My take on the tier list was right. Because you initially did not think that this team was S tier, but I kind of talked you into it, so I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy about that. Uh, at this same tournament, Shane, I wound up tanking the Sanctifiers. Did I say tanking the Sanctifiers? I think that may have been a bit of a Freudian slip because I did tank. I did very bad at this tournament. I went 1-3, and my scores were 6, 5, 20, and 5. So I'll give you a TLDR, but we can dive a little bit deeper into this perhaps later on in this episode. Guys, if you're running Sanctifiers at a tournament, hope that you're not getting paired into elites. And also hope that you're not getting paired into goremongers, because I actually have no idea what this team can do against goremongers. And also hope that you don't play on Into the Dark the entire tournament. Um, yeah, no, just nightmare scenario.
Yeah, ITD is definitely worse for them, and I think elites have have play into them for sure. There's definitely some like they're a crunchy team. There's a lot of like layers and rules, and they're definitely not like a like we've definitely had teams in the past where it's like kind of a free ride as
Yeah,
far as the S tiers go. I don't think they're that at all.
no, no, certainly not. I can tell you from experience. A very complicated team, and unfortunately, into some teams with some breakpoints, things like damage reduction in melee, um, stuff like that. It can really just throw off your melee math and just absolutely, absolutely like demolish this team. Uh, but okay, yeah. So Shane, where do we want to go? Do we want to talk about kind of like your matchups into CTC, or do we want to kind of just like talk about where we think the meta is overall right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be useful to talk about the meta. Um, as far as that tournament specifically, I played against Vespids round one, which was my lowest scoring game. Um, it was just a very like you know I think it was 14-7. We just
Mm-hmm.
held back a lot, which made it hard for me to score. I was in a very strong positional game, but he was sort of my opponent was first of all. By the way, side shout out before I forget. Awesome looking Vespid models. They were like owls.
Yeah, they were cool looking.
It was a very cool conversion. Um, but yeah, he just sort of like sat back a lot, and it made it really hard for me to score points. But he wasn't scoring either, so I think it was like I said, 14-7. My second and third rounds, I played into Angels of Death, which is like absolute gold mine for Hierotek. Um, if they walk up a little too far, you just hit them on turn one with the teleport shenanigans, and then it just becomes so hard for them to trade with you. So those went really well. My third game is on stream. Um, uh, and, we can dig that link up, but that was a pretty good showcase, I would say, of the pressure that higher tech puts onto elite teams. Um, and yeah, it's just I think it's nice to play a team that just crushes elites because I was
Yeah.
having some trouble into elites when I was playing other teams, and it's kind of refreshing. And then my fourth round is against Void Dancers, which I actually thought was going to be. I think it's kind of has the potential to be a tricky matchup, but um, again with higher tech, if you don't have a lot of experience into it, you're going to give up shots and you're going to give up things that you might not realize that they can hit you from. And that was kind of what happened in that game. I ended up getting a lot of sort of free shots on my opponent just because he was kind of underestimating the maneuverability, so to speak, of Nanomine or not Nanomine, Time Splinter, the teleport.
Mm-hmm.
And that game, I mean, very good player, but that game was really in my favor. Um, I don't think I think I might have lost one model um, in that particular game. I think there's definitely ways for elves to play into higher attack, but you have to be like super careful about what you give up because they can hit you so easily and you die so easily because you're an elf. So it can spiral out of control quite fast. But in general, I mean, I think that in this meta, higher tech is very well positioned. There's a lot of elites running around. Um, like I said, I played against two Angels of Death. We had Nemesis Claw. Actually, we had like five Nemesis Claw at this tournament.
Yeah.
We had some Legionaries, some Plague Marines, some Warp Coven. Um, yeah, it's a very good anti-meta pick, and I don't think they're that bad into Sanctifiers either. I haven't really gotten to play that matchup, but my when I've looked into it, and talked to other players that have experience there, it sounds very doable.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite as straightforward, but there's definite ways where they can kind of shift their game plan from a really aggressive thing to like more of a defensive, counterpunch thing where you have like really long threat ranges
Uh-huh.
and just sort of like make it work. Um, I think a big key in those matchups, like against Sanctifiers or some of the elf teams, um, is if you're odd activated with Hierotek and you see one of these teams and like all of their offensive output is uh, weapons with 4 attack dice. Um, if you stage one guy forward and pop the chronometron on them, which is if you attack that guy, it's -1 attack dice. That model is like really, really hard to hit and actually like punch through. Because if you come at anything with 3 attack dice, especially when it's something with a 3-up save, you're just not going to get much done. Um, and not you add that on with the phase shifter, which lets the Chronomancer reduce the piercing on an attack, a shooting attack against him once per turn, and you can kind of throw him forward as this like ultra bait piece. And like Sanctifiers, for instance, they'll throw the Melta up, and that's the shot that they're going to want to take. And it's 3 attack dice hitting on 4s, the piercing 2 reducing to piercing 1, and they have no rerolls. They just have pure DCLs, and you're getting 2 defense dice. So they're just gonna not do anything. And if they do anything at all, it's like maybe they do 6 damage, and then you heal D3+1 next turn, and that Melta probably died. And yeah, I mean, so even when you're not alpha striking teams, I think Hierotek is just really well positioned to have answers into like everything in the meta. So yeah, I think they're like really good right now.
Yeah, it seems that way. Um, so I think right now, I guess my question to you right now is where do you think that like the elf teams are? Because we were in kind of an elf meta. Now it doesn't seem like that so much. And I'm hesitant to call what we're in right now an elite meta because obviously, it looks like Hierotek is at the zenith right now. Looks like they're kind of just in S tier by themselves, really. Um,
I think Sanctifiers are still in S tier. They're just like a little tricky on some matchups.
I mean,
I think those
yeah,
two teams.
okay, yeah. I just don't know what Sanctifiers can do, and I don't think I can put them in S tier. I don't see them as an S tier team if they have such a terrible time on Into the Dark against just like pretty much every elite team except for Angels of Death, just because elite teams are so prevalent right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like I think guard. I've been thinking about this lately. I think guard specifically should get nerfed. I think that elite teams are abusing
Mm.
it way too much, and it's hard for some of the mid range and horde teams to play around it
Mm-hmm.
because you just sort of have to like sacrifice a model just to like get into a room sometimes, which not
Yeah.
every team can afford to do that. Most teams can't afford to just lose a model like that. So, um, yeah, I mean, I think that the only team that has the kind of maneuverability that Hierotech has is Sanctifiers. And I think it's more like the speed plus the layers of defense that can be there.
Right.
Um, and it's I don't know. I think both teams are very hard to pilot at a top level. Um, but I do think they can both, I guess, answer the meta um, in their own ways.
Mm-hmm. So the second part to my question, I guess, is, are we in an elite meta?
Uh I don't think it's just an elite meta. I think it's I mean it kind of is because they're the most common teams and they're very powerful
Mm-hmm.
and they are in a lot of ways shaping the meta. Like I think higher tech
Yeah.
is the best thing about higher tech right now is how good they are into elites. So in that sense, yes, it is kind of an elite meta. I've heard some people call Hierotek an elite team, and I think that's just wrong. If you've played Hierotek, they don't play anything like all these elite teams play.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing they have in common with elite teams is they have 3-up saves, and you know, they're strong. Like their weapons are strong. Like I think
Mhm.
that's the only comparison. But they're an 8 model team. And it's not like Rekka's where it's like 6 plus like, 2 half models.
Yeah.
The like a lot of people say like, oh, the plasma sites are just like 2 little nothings, and then it's like 6 guys, so it's like an elite team. That's like a shows a fundamental misunderstanding of higher tech. First of all, you wouldn't call let's look at, I don't know, Brood Brothers, which is normally like a 12 or 13 model team. You wouldn't call them an 11 or 12 model team because the comms just sits there and gives a comms buff. But the comms on Brood Brothers is I think a demonstrably worse model than the Accelerator, who is the comms for higher tech. The only thing that like a Brood Brother comms has over a higher tech comms is 7 wounds instead of 5, which doesn't really matter because they're both dying to a stiff breeze. Um, the higher tech comms has 7-inch movement compared to 6-inch movement. He has a 2-3 piercing one shot for his gun. It's only 4-inch range, but again, these are models that don't shoot very often. Uh, and then the reanimator, same thing. He's got an okay shooting attack. It's like a bolt gun with lethal 5. He's got 7-inch move. They can do mission actions. They are actual models. They're not squigs that blow up and cease to exist on turn 2. I think people just look at them and go, "Oh yeah, they're like little, so they're like not really part of the team. The real team is the other 6 guys." That's wrong. Um, and also the way that Hierotek wins games is unrecognizable from the way that elites win games, which is like very aggressive, setting up double kills on every guy if you can, um, throwing your dudes forward, going on guard on a door. These are not things that you're doing with higher tech. So I think when people say, oh, higher tech is an elite team, it's just like a pointless comparison. It serves no purpose.
Mhm.
It's it's not really accurate. And I don't understand what lumping them in with the elite teams does. So like when I say it is kind of an elite meta and higher tech is a part of that, it's not because higher tech are elites. It's because higher tech are relevant because
They're
of
the
how they.
anti-elite team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, their relationship with elites is kind of important in their like meta presence, I guess.
Mhm. Where do you think like melee hordes fall into all this? Do you think they're kind of like mixed in neck and neck with elite teams, or do you think they're like a tier below? Because I think
So I mean,
it
I
feels like
guess when
that's
we
what I
talk
see
about
the meta is.
yeah, like when we talk about melee hordes, it kind of depends because first of all, I think Gellerpox are below average. I
Oh,
don't think they're like
I
terrible.
yeah, no. When I'm talking about melee hordes, I'm talking specifically about three teams. Well, not even really with one of them, but that would be Felgor Ravagers, that would be Chaos Cult, and then I say melee hordes. I'm lumping in Goremongers into this as well.
Just melee teams,
Just
basically.
melee teams, yeah. Good melee.
Yeah, I think Goremongers are very good. I think they're very close to being S tier. Um, I like the team a lot. I think that their biggest hurdle is a couple of elite teams, and even those aren't impossible. Uh, I think they fit really nicely because I think in most of the elites, it's actually not that bad for Goremongers. I think they have ways if you just like missile and commit to the missile. But against some of the teams, you have to get a little more creative, and I think it works. It's just tricky. Um, I think Chaos Cults are very good. Um, I think they have really strong matchups into a lot of stuff, and I think they probably don't love playing into elites, but I don't think it's impossible by any means. I mean, the torments when you get them going, they hit really hard. They're really powerful models. They do. I think the team does have some problems with tech ops, but it's manageable, and they've got a lot of bodies. So I think Cascalts is really underrated. And then Felgor, I think, are still great. Some of their answers to certain things have been hit decently hard. Like I think that one of the keys to the Gormonger matchup for Felgor pre-nerf was the Shaman and his Seek ability, and they've changed that to Seek Light. And I think missing out on that really, really crucial chip damage is significant for that matchup in particular. But I do think overall Felgor can still hang. Um, and they're like easily, I'd say, A tier. So I think it's not too bad for elite teams or for melee teams right now. Um, and if we, I think honestly, if I had to make a prediction, I would say that if elites get hurt in the next data slate, which we've got some time, I think we got like 2 more months. If elites get hit in a couple months, I think we could be in like kind of a melee meta,
Okay.
honestly.
Yeah, cool. So that's kind of like where we think the top end of the meta is going to be
Yeah.
those good melee teams, most elite teams, and Hierotek Circle Sanctifiers.
Yeah. And I mean, I at this point, with the results that have been coming in, which we should talk about, I'm pretty sure Hierotek's going to get a nerf. They're probably going to get nerfed again.
Okay.
Um, so, and I mean, in a nice world, we would see maybe like internal balancing there. Like maybe we give a
Yes.
little back to the Psycho, give a little to the Techno, and then hit Time Splinter.
Yeah.
Maybe like make it 5 inch range, or don't let people use it turn one, or I don't know. There's any number of things you can do to it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what I think will happen. What I think will happen is Chronomancer will probably get nerfed into the ground, and we will not see any buffs to Psycho or Techno.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I expect that to happen. That's just my higher tech pessimism in regards to data slates because it feels like we just get like beat down really bad whenever there's changes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so I guess there were other results other than CTC. So there was Dallas Open, um, where it was, I believe it was Landon took higher tech and went 7-0, took first place. And then at the, I believe it was the Warhammer World in the UK, which was over 60 players, and Dallas was 30, I want to say 32, 34
Mm-hmm.
players, maybe that range. Um, and then at Warhammer World in the UK, which is I think around 60, Dan, reigning world champ, took higher tech. I think he went 5-1 or 6-1. It was some amount of rounds, and he lost in the finals to Ryan Slater's Phobos. Um, but Dan took second place there, and then there was a large event in Australia where I believe somebody took higher tech and took second place there as well with like 5 wins, a tie, and a loss, or maybe it was 6 wins and a loss.
Okay.
Um, so all over the board. And then somebody I think did pretty well with them in a Pacific Northwest tournament, but I don't know if that was a GT. But common thread here is higher tech is there's like it feels like we put them in S tier. I'm not saying this is the reason why everybody took them, but it
Yes.
feels like we put them in S tier. And Ryan, it's like the higher tech Oblivion gates opened up all over the world,
What have I done?
and they're coming out in full force. And I welcome our new Necron overlords, Ryan. I don't know about you.
It's same as the old Necron overlords. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Uh.
mean, I think it's they're gonna get nerfed. There's no doubt about it at this point. Um, in my mind, I mean, I would be shocked if we didn't get nerfed.
Yeah, that's a fair bet. Um.
So yeah, like if we're predicting into the future, I think we see elites and higher tech and sanctifiers get nerfed, and and then I bet like Goremongers is the best team or something. Goremongers and Chaos
Yeah.
Cults.
Yeah, I can see that. Um. So The CTC this past weekend, it was a 32-person tournament, like we've said. Do we want to take a look at the top six? I think that's a good like way to kind of
Yeah.
look at this. So inside the top six, I'm just going to give you guys the rundown of the teams that we saw in the top six at this tournament. Two Nemesis Claw players, obviously one Hierotek Circle player, Scout Squad, Brood Brothers, and Ratlings.
Yeah.
So a pretty diverse, top six. Shouts out to Dylan coming in sixth place with his Nemesis Claw and being able to secure a gold ticket. Dylan's one of our locals here in Rochester, so we were all super stoked to see that one got to him.
Yeah, Dylan's been killing it with Nemesis Claw. So very excited to see another Rochester boy come out with us to Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Um and yeah, I mean we the real thing here at this tournament I think was I think Nemesis Claw was a bit of a gatekeeper. Um I think most of the I don't know if there was 5 Nemesis Claw and none of them went worse than like 2 and 2. I think everybody went 2 and 2 or better. You had I think two 2 and 2s, a 3 and 1, and a 4 and 0. Nemesis Claw definitely one of the stronger teams I think right now in the meta. They just have like they don't have the reliability, and I've tried playing them, and I don't love playing them personally. I like having a little bit more reliability in my team and a little more staying power, which it doesn't feel like they have that. They're kind of just
Yeah.
like the tricksy elites.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and they are very, very good at it, and they're very scary. So I I think that they're one of the better teams right now in the meta. It's kind of funny because I think that they're worse than Plague Marines, but I almost feel like Nemesis Claw has like a higher ceiling. They definitely have a higher skill expression. Um, but they don't have like the consistency of Plague Marines, but they can do way
Yeah.
more. I guess if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does with all their shenanigans the with the prescience tokens, with the ventriloquar, with the diversity of weapons that they can take. Yeah, they're not just big beefy bodies. They're pretty fragile as far as elite teams go, but yeah, they got a lot of tricks up their sleeves. Um, let's talk about Ratlings getting in the top five. There were two Ratlings players at this tournament. It looks like both of them did make top 10, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, they
Um,
both went 3-1,
yeah.
which is impressive.
What do you think of the Ratlings overall?
Yeah, man. I mean, I so to like I think on the tier list we put them in C tier and we basically said that it feels like they're really hard to play and it's very complicated and there's so much setup and it doesn't really equate to much in the end. And I got to talk to Jason a little bit, who is the Rattling player who finished fifth here, went 3-1. And he told me, I believe his words were, he doesn't think he's ever had a decisive victory playing Rattlings. And he's been playing them for months. Feels like every game he ever wins with them is like on a razor's edge. And I totally see it. It just feels like you set up your traps and your mines and your tripwires and you throw out the wall of Ogrins and your opponent just slogs through it all and takes heavy casualties. And then when the traps and the Ogrins are gone, you just have a bunch of little dweebs who just die to anything. And maybe you've mustered up enough points at that point in the game and then like just the opponent's taken enough losses where they've broken through your lines, but you can maybe squeak out a win somehow. And I'd like to hear if, because as somebody that doesn't play Rattlings, that is how I picture the Rattling experience. And I'd love to hear in the comments some Rattling players who, if they can confirm that that's actually how it is, because that's how I picture it. I picture it's just hell on earth for the opponent until they kill those Ogrins and get through the mines and the tripwires, and then you as the rattling player just have to realize slowly that there's nothing between your rattlings and the enemy's scary models anymore, and then the game gets very terrifying. Win or lose.
One thing that I thought was surprising about the top six here is the Scout Squad team coming in third place. Scout Squads, we've talked about them in the past before. I think the way that we've described them is being um, too honest of a team, not a lot of tricks. What do you think happened here?
Yeah, so Dave, the guy that went 3-1 with scouts, took third. He's just a really good player. He has a golden ticket from the last Ontario tournament a few weeks back, where he actually played Chaos Cults there and went 4-0. Picked up Scouts, which is a team that I know he's liked for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And talking to him, it kind of sounded like he came in not thinking much about them in terms of like he didn't think that he was pulling up with like a secret meta pick. I think he was just playing Scouts because he wanted to,
Gotcha.
and he's a very good player. And honestly, I don't know what to say. I'm actually planning on having Dave come on the podcast soon and talk about Scouts.
Ooh, okay.
So we'll have more to say about
Yeah.
that maybe next week. But yeah, I mean they are cool. It's interesting because they're just like the shotguns, the 4 on 2s, 4-4 is an amazing profile. You get rerolls with it, and like they just have they're a very straightforward team, but there's also a lot of different things that you can choose on that team, and I could see somebody cracking something and
Okay.
kind of figuring it out. Um, so yeah, I got to hear Dave's thoughts on it because I'm not entirely sure what scouts are doing these days, and I don't want to speculate on how he was winning his games.
All
I do
right.
know that he was typically taking the I think he was taking the booby trap in every game, and obviously the +1 AP and the -1 AP for the enemy. Um, and then beyond that, I genuinely don't know. But
Okay.
his only loss was to David, who went 4-0 at this tournament, took second place with Nemesis Claw, and I was kind of like creeping on that game a little bit, and it looked very, very close.
Yeah.
So
Final score for that game was 14 to 12, so yeah, extremely close game.
yeah,
And then last kill team we had in the top six at this tournament was George Armour running Brood Brothers. That's nice to see.
yeah. George was doing work with Brew Brothers last edition, and I know he wanted to go back and play him a little bit more. Um, Yeah, I think he was taking the Magus every game, if I'm not mistaken. He might have gone
Yeah.
Primus once. Um, but yeah, I mean it's like a very tricksy team. His loss ended up being to Void Dancers, who finished 7th at 3-1. Um, and yeah, again, I'm not really a Brood Brothers player, so I can't speak too much to his to what he was doing with that team. I do know he had a very close looking game with Jason on the Rattlings. Um, My read on it is Brew Brothers uh, they play the crit op pretty well. They play kill op very well because if you actually look at the kill grade, the chart for 13 model teams, it's just like kind of ridiculous. You have to kill like 8 of them to get to grade 3 on your kill op,
Yeah.
which is kind of insane when you think about it. Yeah, I mean, I would say it's probably a mixture of dominating the board, getting crit op, winning on kill op just by playing pretty aggressive with the some of their like pressure tools on turn 1 and turn 2, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean pretty strong team there. I think probably the best shooty horde that we have.
Yeah, shooty hordes, it seems like overall are just not in a good spot.
Yeah, I mean I kind of look at sanctifiers as more of a melee horde if anything.
Oh, yeah. I'm absolutely in agreement with you there.
Yeah, and I mean the flamers are great that hit on twos, but I think typically a lot of the damage output is coming from charging and fighting with ceaseless.
Yeah, your Death Cult Assassin, your
The
Persecutor,
preachers.
those like harder hitting melee models. Uh, Preachers, yeah.
Even the leader is like
Oh my god, yeah, with his big bonk stick.
5/5 damage.
Yeah, it's
So
crazy.
I wanna talk a little about the results of the Dallas Open just really quick.
Oh yeah.
Um, so obviously I mentioned Hierotek Circle going 7-0, first place. We had Sanctifiers in second place. That went 5 wins, 1 tie, 1 loss. Phobos in third, and then we have Jimmy Kelly who took Angels of Death to this tournament, finished fourth. He went, I think it was 5 wins, 1 loss, 1 tie as well. And his loss was in the semifinals of the top cut on day two to Sanctifiers.
Okay.
And I don't know exactly what happened. There was no stream or anything. I've talked to Jimmy a little bit about what happened here, and he highlighted to me specifically there was one moment in the game where he was just like absolutely disgusted with the durability of the um the confessor model in particular. So I mean this is Angels of Death, dueler Angels of Death. He charged a full health assault intercessor into the leader, um, fought it. The guy paid a CP to make him fight somebody else. All right,
Yep.
he kills that guy, fights again for his third AP, and he gets a crit in 4 hits out of 5 dice, and he's got dueler.
Yeah.
And the confessor rolls 1 crit and 2 hits, and with that roll, the assault intercessor cannot kill the confessor.
Yeah.
He can't do it because there is just a scratch. Okay, he's going to crit him, right? He's going to hit him with 1 crit, and uh he'll eat that. He'll eat the 5 damage off of that, which is actually 4 damage because of
Because he's in
the
the
sermon.
sermon. Yep.
So he goes down to 6 health, and I'm going to presume at this point, um, and maybe he doesn't even do that. It's just like a matter of like you actually can't kill the guy because even with dueler, because of first of all the crit that he's got is going to shock and get rid of one of Jimmy's normals. He's got 3-4 damage in the melee. He's got just a scratch in his back pocket. Like the fact that you can have that model charge him and roll and get that roll and you still can't kill him, something is seriously wrong with that model. It is crazy. Why does he have 10 wounds? Why is his damage
Yeah,
5/5?
there's no reason for him to have 10 wounds. He is huge, and
Yeah.
he
And I mean,
has a
with
lot
the
of faith in the God Emperor of Mankind. But
yeah,
this is a space marine with a chainsword coming at you. Like there should be no contest. Like
yeah,
seriously.
ultimately it's an old man in a robe, and it's not 10 wounds because when you factor in the damage reduction, it's more like he has like
Yeah.
14 wounds
Yeah.
because it's going to take like 4 hits to kill him. Um, yeah, sort of disgusting. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I kind of like view um sanctifiers as kind of like a melee horde because of that, because you're going to have probably 3 preachers and the death cult assassin, the persecutor, the leader,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then you have like 5 other guys, and maybe 1 or 2 of those guys is going to have some melee output. But yeah, they're pretty punchy
Oh yeah. Yeah, they punch well above their weight.
for sure. And then I let's just really quickly go over the results here in the Warhammer World event. So this was 58 players. And we have Phobos in first. That was Ryan Slater from Turning Point Tactics, going 5-1.
Congratulations, Ryan.
Yeah. What's funny because in the tier list we were just talking about how like we were kind of talking up Phobos, but we were saying, well, they haven't really won anything though. And then here we go.
Yep.
Ryan goes ahead and wins a 58 player major with them. So I don't think we had any doubts about whether Phobos were capable of it. We just hadn't really seen it. Um, And then Hierotek in second, going 5-1, only losing to Phobos, which is surprising to me because I thought Hierotek would be quite good into Phobos. Um, but I guess there's some sauce there. And then third place was Sirkin, who was at Worlds this past year playing Sanctifiers. He went 5-1 as well. And then here's a funny one. I just want to highlight this before we move on. Uh, in fourth place, going 5-1, or no, is that 5-1? Yeah, it's 5-1. Guy Barton, this is Dan's father. I played Guy at Worlds. Very, very cool guy, good player. Ryan, you want to take a guess what team he was playing, going 5-1 at Warhammer World?
Um, hmm. I'm gonna guess Kasserkin, Shane.
It's a shooty horde.
The Shooty Horde, and it's not Kasserkin. Okay. I'm gonna
No,
guess
no,
Aquilons?
it's not Accolons.
I'm running out of Shooty Hordes over here.
Would you like
Pathfinders.
it? It was
Pathfinders.
Pathfinders.
Yes.
It was. Yeah, I mean, Pathfinders. Well done to Guy. That's gross to see, but congratulations to him. Um, I got the full Pathfinder treatment playing against Voyne a couple weeks ago, even though I was playing Hierotek, who kind of bullied them a little bit. I see how gross that team is. I see it with my own eyes. They have. I can see if you're not playing a team like Hierotek, they can handle their shenanigans. I think it's pretty strong. But yeah, I mean that's kind of like the big results that we had. Um, very active weekend in terms of big tournaments. There's a lot going on this past weekend with Kill Team. But yeah, I mean, Ryan, so what are you thinking of playing now? I mean, it sounds like you were not loving Sanctifiers.
I was not loving Sanctifiers. I kind of want to go into the tank a little bit, and I don't know, maybe this would actually be fun to do like right now live. Um, so I was thinking of criteria that you would need if you want to, if you're aiming to like podium, right? If you're aiming to podium at a tournament, what are some requirements that you need from your kill team? We're going to leave player skill and player knowledge at the door. Um, so let's try and figure out a team that kind of checks all the boxes. And these are the boxes that I have laid out. Okay, Shane? So we need something that obviously we're not going to go with Hierotek. That's too easy. Um, so
Damn.
yeah.
Gonna make that
Damn
pick?
it. Um, so we need something that is good into like the good melee teams, Goremongers, Felgor, Chaos Cult. We need something that can go toe to toe with elite teams. In terms of tac ops, we need a team that I think can flex between the stronger of the tac op options. So in my mind, that's security, and then that's recon. So if we can narrow down a team that fits all that criteria, I think that's a pretty good team. Just going off like those three requirements there. Do you have anything in mind that meets all of those?
Hmm. So it's hard because most teams you can punch at least one hole between those three things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so and you'll have some teams, and this is why I get so frustrated with Kroot, because Kroot is like the handling the melee teams, in my opinion, and perfect tac op spreads. They kind of knock it out of the park, but then they just like completely fall flat into the elite problem.
Mm-hmm.
So that's out of the question. Um, Now I think you could theoretically you could look at Felgors, who I think do have play into elites. It's their worst matchups, but I think it's not like impossible.
Uh-huh.
Plague Marines, really well played Plague Marines might be really tough. Um, but They do have recon, and they're quite good at confirm kill. Maybe the best confirm kill team, honestly, up there probably. Uh, I think they struggle into goremongers though. So I don't know. I mean, I don't have play. I don't have any experience at all in a Chaos Cult this edition, to be completely honest. It's like one of the only teams I have not played against.
Oh, you hear that, guys? If you're playing in a tournament and you know Shane's gonna be there, take Chaos Cult. Okay, moving on.
I'll have to figure it out live. I also haven't played against Hunter Clade or Wormblade.
Yeah, I
um,
I don't think we need to talk about either of those teams.
yeah, well, Wormblade's okay,
Oh,
but yeah,
I guess another requirement should be it's a team that we already have between the two of us. I guess that'll
yeah,
just to help us narrow it down here a little bit.
that will help. Um, I mean, oof. I think I can see right now outside of Sanctifiers and Hierotek and like I don't know. Are you excluding Gorebongers?
Uh, I mean, not necessarily, but yeah, looking for something that's like a little less obvious, I guess, that kind of fits this criteria we've set out.
Yeah, I mean, I think Phobos
Okay.
is very good. I
Mm-hmm.
think they are at least 50-50 into every elite team, in my opinion. Um, they are probably not favored into Goremongers, but I don't think they have any matchup that is worse than like a 40-60.
Mm-hmm.
To
Yeah,
be real with you.
yeah, I really do hate that Goremongers matchup, just because of the.
Um,
Well, no, you can always just double shoot.
that's my thought is
Yeah.
they just double shoot. They have access to recon and they're very good at it. They go toe to toe with elites. I think they're very, very like solid in the meta right now, as evidenced by Ryan winning Warhammer World with them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we don't have this team, but I'm not totally convinced that Blades of Cain isn't kind of like in the best position you can hope for with that team right now.
Yeah, let me pull up
Uh,
their rules here real fast.
I mean, I think that they are good into elites. They like their scariest thing was Sanctifiers ruining their day on turn one, and that part of it got toned down. And I think that Sanctifiers is a doable matchup for them now. They've got literally all the. I mean, they kind of have all the archetypes depending on what loadout you go with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just think they're just very well positioned. I mean, they have very awesome defensive tech. They have such a wide toolbox that I think that they can come up with answers to anything. And one thing I think is really underrated about them is sometimes when you're playing a team, like let's say you're playing a team that has like security or something. Sometimes security is awesome. You look at the board and it's like, oh, this is a security board through and through.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, crap, none of the security options are good here, and my other choice is like seek and destroy or infiltration.
Yeah.
This is not good. If you're playing Blades of Cain and you see that board, you just flex more into like Banshees,
Yep.
and then you have access to Recon, which I mean Banshees are good anyway. But all of the options I think are good, and I've just heard so many people play them in so many different ways. Um, I think they're just like in a very good spot right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually one of, to be honest.
Say that. I'm sorry. Say that last part one more time. Your mic cut out a little bit there.
I, oh yeah, I was just saying I think Blades of Cain is one of the few teams that I kind of fear when I'm playing as Hierotek.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that contempt specifically is like it has the potential to just like turn an activation on its head. Um and it's one of those things where it's like your opponent can't really do anything better. Once in a while you're just going to get crushed by contempt, which is the firefight ploy for those of you that don't know. where when the enemy is retaliating, or I'm sorry, when the Blades of Cain operative is retaliating or an enemy is shooting them, after your opponent rolls their attack dice, but before rerolls, you pay a CP and they can't reroll anything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are just going to be moments where you're playing with like Ceaseless or something, and you roll 3 2s and a 4, and you're like, oh, thank God I have Ceaseless. And then Blades of Cain just hits you with
Nope.
Contempt.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, oh, you're going to die in your own activation now.
Yeah.
Thanks. And then outside of that, I mean, I think something that is really, really underrated about Blades of Cain is their defensive tech. They have so much of it, and at a glance, you just see, oh, they're just 8 wound models with 4 up saves. But for one, you have Contempt, which is defensive tech. Like no matter how you cut it, it's when your opponent's
Yeah.
attacking you. Um, you have an equipment that is just a scratch, basically once per game. That's really good. Um, and then the Banshees specifically have like some pretty interesting ways to get out of situations. Um, and not all of it is necessarily uh, when your opponent's attacking you, but like they have a lot of like insurance that is like not really insurance because it's free. Like for instance, the Banshee Rain of Tears specifically is what I'm thinking about. And I've seen Rain of Tears happen so many times, and it just like screws somebody up. Where let's say a Banshee charges a Marine, and it's got lethal 5 and stuff, 4 attacks on 3s, and it gets like a crit in like 1 hit and then like 2 misses. And then the
Hmm.
Marine has like 5 hits.
Yeah.
Now you might look at that and be like, oh yeah, the Marine is about to just murder this Banshee. Well, the Banshee strikes with a crit and then uses the aspect technique, Rain of Tears, to immediately fall back for free 3 inches away, and then they can perform a shoot action with their shuriken pistol. So you just do a free 6 damage and then get out of there.
Yeah.
Um, so like little things like that are just so sweet. And then like a striking scorpion, you having super conceal if you're on a board where you need to use light cover, or the enemy has like seek light and you're on ITD. Stuff like that is really
Okay.
interesting. And they have a lot of situational stuff, but you pile enough situational stuff on top of a team, and they kind of have like an answer for everything, it feels like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Blades of Cain are like very secretly, not secretly, but like they're very much in like a phenomenal place right now.
Okay. Let me ask you actually, so I was looking through the list of teams and I forgot that Inquisition, they can take any attack op archetype.
They can, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that they have any legs?
They definitely do have legs, I think. I think that they're not as good as they once were. Um, but they're definitely like they're kind of like a toolbox team, the way that I was talking about Blades. Obviously they don't play anything like Blades of Cain, but
Yeah.
they have the like a wide variety of answers to a different number of situations. I still think that the go-to ancillary for them is going to be Casterkin the vast majority of the time, just because they hit on threes, and that's I think just default going to be really good, and they have a fantastic comms, and it's like one of the few ways to ignore obscurity on that team, I think.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean they have every archetype. Stuff like Denounce um, is very good for like mitigating bad variance with like initiative and stuff. Quarry gives you good access to rerolls, but it's situational. They're like a very skill intensive team, um, but very good answers, I think, to a lot of things. Like if I think like an Inquisition diehard can probably still make them work pretty well. Elites are going to be tough still, but you have multiguns and a lot of piercing and
Yeah,
some
there's
melee threats. So
Plasma and Melta and like over half of your ancillary support options to like. Oh, that's not true, but yeah, you have access to it.
yeah,
Yeah, I think those are the two front runners that I have in mind. Uh, Only problem is with the Howling Banshees. Ain't nobody got no, or yeah, I should say Blades of Cain. Problem with that team is nobody has Howling Banshees anywhere. I've looked at in like the past 2 weeks. I've looked at Games Workshop website, obviously sold out. I've looked at eBay. I've looked at local game stores. I've looked at game stores. One particular game store in Canada this past weekend when we were there.
yeah.
I looked at I've looked at Amazon. Did I mention eBay? Nobody even
Wow.
has the new sculpts, like the newer updated Howling Banshee sculpts. No one has them available for sale, new in box or used on eBay right now. They are not on the internet.
Oh wow, yeah. I'm looking on Amazon right now, unavailable. What the heck?
Yeah. I mean, that makes
You know,
sense
a
for
while back,
Amazon. That makes sense for Amazon, but to not be able to find a used mini on eBay is crazy.
that
I,
is kind of wild.
yeah.
What's going on eBay?
Yeah. Uh, yeah,
I mean, you might have to.
if anybody's got a source out there for some Howling Banshees, holla at your boy. Um,
That's crazy. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I think that and even if you can find them, I mean, the unfortunate truth about playing Blades of Cain is um the Banshees, there's only 5 in a box, and it's like a
yeah.
$60 box. And if you want all the options for Blades of Cain, which I think you actually do,
Oh,
this is like not one of
jeez.
those teams where you just get one list and like you just budget through. I think you actually want all the options.
Oh my God. So you
Um,
need two Exarchs or like three Exarchs? Forget how many different
well,
loadouts they have.
you want the option to go mono Banshee, which is 8 Banshees. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
and because mono Banshees are like it's genuinely good. Um, and so like okay, well we've got the striking scorpions. Um, and we don't have any banshees and we can't find them anywhere. And you also want a box of Dire Avengers because you need some Dire Avengers.
Dire
You probably
Avengers
don't
are
need 8 Dire Avengers, but
no.
you do need a few.
Yeah, dire Avengers are easy. You can find them in the Eldari Combat Patrol boxes, and those you can easily find. Which,
Yeah.
unfortunate, you have to pick up a Combat Patrol box, but if you know an Eldar
There are
player
boxes.
who needs, yeah,
There are like Dire Avenger boxes too. I
yeah,
don't know
there's
if
got to
we
be.
um and it's probably one of the cheaper boxes to find online, honestly, just because they're like they're not like Guardians, but they're as far as aspect warriors go, they're like the grunt gun guys that
Yeah,
run around and do stuff in 40K. So, um, I do think that Dire Avenger, like I think Mono Dire Avenger is like kind of cool. It's not really something that you ever actually need to do. Um,
yeah. It seems like you're
but
just kind of hamstringing yourself.
it is really funny on ITD because they have so the thing about going mono is you can only do an aspect technique once per turn.
Right.
But if you go mono, you can do each aspect technique twice per turn.
Mm.
And let's say you're on Into the Dark playing Blades of Cain. They have an aspect technique that gives them lethal 5 on a shooting attack. Okay, so now you can do that twice. So 4 on 3 is maybe ceaseless, lethal 5 rending. That's an amazing profile. Um, Doing it twice per turn is pretty sweet. But wait, Dire Avengers also have a an aspect technique that gives them torrent. So on ITD, torrent gives lethal 5
Yeah.
and you can do it twice. So 4 of your 8 shots in a turn can be lethal 5 with with your Dire Avengers if you're playing on Into the Dark. And like 4 attacks on threes, 3/4 rending ceaseless lethal 5 with Wraithbone talismans is like you're getting like 3 crits every time.
Okay.
Absolutely crazy. But again, your only melee is going to be like your leader, effectively.
Yeah.
Um, and also if they're on an objective, or I think attacking somebody on an objective, they get balance too.
Yeah,
So
I think
like
it's
throw
if
balance.
they're standing on an objective, I think they get it.
Yeah, so throw balance into that wave of keywords I just said, and you're basically relentless.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a cool team.
Yeah.
And then you can always pay a CP to shoot twice too, so it's like, and
Yeah.
the Exarch can like default shoot or fight twice. So
Yeah, because the Exarchs are 3 APL, right?
yeah, they're all
Okay.
3 APL, the whole team.
Oh God, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Neat, yeah.
I think they're really good. I
All
mean,
right.
and the nice thing too is they are around for like 3 more years.
Yes, yeah, that was the other kind of like I forgot to mention that when we were going in. So like you mentioned Phobos, and I'm like, well, they're gonna be rotating out a little bit. I didn't want to keep moving the goalpost on you though. But
No,
yeah,
I think it's a valid thing. Yeah, if you're looking at teams that are going to be around a while, like if I had to main another team right now, I might main Goremongers. I think they just feel like they are capable of like winning stuff.
mm-hmm,
But I think Blades of Cain is like in that realm. I've heard that Blades of Cain and Goremongers, I've heard that's a tough matchup for Blades, but you know, I think they have the capability to do a lot. So
mm-hmm. Yeah, they have tricks.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that play you were describing earlier with contempt, that kind of gets around the the they're uh half the first instance of like melee damage strap ploy plus the only take 8 up to 8 wounds per shooting attack. You can charge, fight, strike with your crit, do whatever amount of damage. So you have a power weapon like 3 damage. Get your free fall back out of combat, and then just burst him down with a shuriken pistol. That should get you there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, with Rain of Tears. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty nice. I think that it's solid.
Yeah, what did I say?
And like,
Contempt? Yeah, that was a different thing.
yeah, Contempt's the don't reroll, which is
Yes.
very good.
Which also, yes, very good. Um,
Um, and it's like one thing that does like draw me to that team a little bit. Not that I'm thinking of playing them, but just the fact that you, like I mentioned earlier, it's all the defensive layers that really like sell it for me. Is because
mhm.
if they're just like I don't like glass cannon teams. I've learned, and Blades of Cain they hit really hard, but they actually do have quite a bit of like defensive tech. So, um, yeah, I think it's a pretty interesting team for sure.
Yeah, I think I hate glass cannon teams too, especially after this weekend. They're
I
not
liked
even
I
they're
hated it.
not even glass cannons though. That's the
Yeah, I was gonna
problem.
say they're pretty tanky.
Yeah.
I hated Hand of the Archon. I mean, I hate them. They're fun, but I hate them as like a competitive choice for me. I was like, oh my god, everything is like on the razor's edge. It's like
Yeah,
I
I
just
didn't
can't do that.
I don't think Hand of the Archon is like tricked. I don't think with the current rules they have right now that they're like interesting enough for me to want to play.
They are just. Don't get me wrong. I think it's cool to play that team. Like they are full send, murder, and if your opponent starts to kill you, you kill them back harder, and that's like the only counterplay.
Yeah,
um,
that's a thing.
it's
That's
in the
it.
spirit. It's in the spirit of Kill Team more than any other faction. But yeah,
Yeah. Cool. All right. Um, Shane, did you want to talk a little bit about Hierotek here?
more than I already have.
Yeah, was there
Honestly, I
anything
mean,
that
is there anything you wanted me to touch on with them?
I guess we can talk about just kind of like your overall strategy, tac ops you took, were you prioritizing what was like your primary ops during your matchups? Stuff like that. Just kind
Yeah,
of
I mean,
like top
I was
down like
definitely
strategy, I guess.
yeah. I mean, I think the strategy kind of comes down to if I'm playing against an elite team, I'm going to try to put turn one pressure on if my opponent lets me. Um, with waiting until they're done activating, putting an immortal on engage in the back line, and then having the chronomancer walk up teleport him forward and then shoot through him or command him to shoot. Probably shoot through him usually. Um, and if I'm, playing against a team where I'm out activated or I'm like afraid of like their pressure, I'll keep everybody back and then move my Chronomancer up with Chronometron as like the only real thing they can hit. Because I don't mind keeping everybody back because next turn I can always just teleport them forward and then it doesn't matter how far back they are. And the opponent usually like bites the bullet and goes in and attacks the Chronomancer with one less attack dice. And I'm usually just able to like trade up from there. But in terms of like tech ops and stuff like that, I think you can pretty much always take confirm kill, or once in a while take ground is really good if it's like the right board.
Yeah.
Um, I've found that confirm kill is just so good with that team. If the you're if you're getting a kill, you're dropping a confirm kill marker. And if it's I've seen some people say, oh, the opponent can go run and contest that marker. First of all, they don't want to do that.
No.
I don't care what is happening; they don't want to be doing that, especially if it's out of the way. And also, if they're going there and contesting it, they're going into a spot that you have proven you can hit again because you've
Yeah.
already hit it once. Um, so I mean, they're throwing more guys into the grinder typically to do that. But yeah, I have had a lot of success playing confirm kill. The only time I didn't max it in my last like I don't know 10 to 12 games I've played with it on Hierotek is was actually my first game this past weekend against Vespids. Because, and I kind of mentioned earlier that my opponent was a little more passive with his staging, and he played really far back. And we ended up winning that game 14-7. So it's if your opponent isn't like letting you have confirmed kill, they're probably being really passive, or you're just getting wrecked anyway. Um, and then in which case you're probably doing fine in the actual game. But and I pretty much I think I took Tech Op um
Is
as
your
my primary
primary.
every game.
Hmm.
Yeah, I do think against some teams, like if you're against like an 8 model team, I don't hate making kill op your primary. One thing with higher tech that I think people fail to consider a little bit is that you're so likely to win on kill op is that you're almost kind of starting with a +2 point differential because you're going to win on kill op most games, which gets you another point. Um, and I do think this is like a really big deal, and you can, if you think you can leverage this into 5 or 6 points, which is really just getting the fourth mark on the kill chart, then I think you're going to have a lot of success. Um, Honestly, it's kind of like interesting because in theory they're not very good at crit op, which is I think where kill op comes in to like make up for that, and then the real difference ends up being how well you do on tech op. Like they have recon, and I've seen some people mention plant beacons. Do not plant beacons with higher tech. I beg you. I think the team only has like 17 AP.
Yeah.
They're not built to plant beacons.
Right.
17 or 18 AP, maybe 18. Either way, it's not nearly enough AP to warrant planting 6 beacons and basically dedicating 6 of your activations in a game to doing that. They're just not very efficient at it. But killing with confirmed kill, you're just like playing the game and you're not thinking about it. And it becomes very easy, I think, to grab the confirmed kill markers if you're just like playing and you're not sacrificing extra, actions to go and score those points. You're just playing naturally and making it work, I guess.
Hmm. All right, cool. So, Shane, we're a little bit over an hour on this episode, so I think we are going to call it here. Is there anything else that you wanted to add on before we close it out?
Yes, actually, I do want to say, first of all, obviously, subscribe if you haven't listened. If you're listening and you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. It helps us out a bunch, and you'll get clued in whenever we upload a new video, which is, by the way, every Friday. Um, And also for everybody over at patreon.com/commandpoint, thank you guys for supporting us. But go over and we're going to make a post on the Patreon after this is up. We're going to do a Q&A in sometime in the next week or two for the Patreon people. So go in and post your kill team questions, and we'll try to answer everything we can. So yeah, go do that for sure.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think that was all I wanted to shout.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys all for tuning in to this 70th episode of the Command Point podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. Like Shane said, if you have not already, please subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming future Kill Team content. We've got a lot more stuff coming along the way here, not just content, but we are actually in the midst of getting a tournament up and running in our local area that we're going to be having some more information to share soon. So, yeah, talk to you guys then. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all again in the next one.